Hey, what's up? It's Bond, and today I want to talk about Mass Effect 4, next, 5, whatever. Stop arguing about it. We don't know the title yet. Relax. But what I want to talk about today is what we are going to find out in 2024 about this game, some hot spots of the year where I think we may learn some information, and some thoughts about why we may actually not hear really anything at all. So to kick off this discussion, I want to follow this article. It actually kind of inspired me to make the video. It's a Game Rant article by Joshua Duckworth. What to expect from Mass Effect 4 in 2024. Don't kill him over the 4. We all call it what we want for now. We'll get a real name soon, maybe. We'll see. But what I want to talk about is kind of a bunch of my own takes as well, with this as a bit of a guide. If you want speculation articles about Mass Effect and the next game, Game Rant is a great publication to follow because they enjoy talking about it, even if some of the articles make me want to smash my computer. So at the beginning of this, they kind of acknowledge the likely release this year, late this year, of Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Even this section here, or Mass Effect 4 news will be scarce, talks a lot about how it's likely that Dreadwolf could be announced for a holiday release this year, which means that especially starting in June, when we're expecting to get information about Dreadwolf, it's going to be Dreadwolf focused for the rest of the year, and probably into 2025 as well in the post-release cycle. I still don't love the part of the article here that talks about if BioWare was mostly silent for 6 years for Dragon Age Dreadwolf for a myriad of reasons, then known insider Jeff Grubb's assertion that Mass Effect 4 will release sometime around 2029 holds up. I think we kind of have to let that go a little bit for multiple reasons. Hopefully, the next Mass Effect game does not have the same issues as Dreadwolf. We're under the impression that Dreadwolf has been rebooted at least twice and potentially more times, as they weren't even sure what type of game it was going to be, whether it was going to be a multiplayer game, like an MMO style game, a live service co-op style game. And then the last bit, and what we know of most recently, is that it's, Dragon Age Dreadwolf is going to be a single player traditional Dragon Age game. When they talk about the myriad of reasons we haven't heard anything for many years, and why this game's been in production roughly twice as long as most AAA games are, especially of the style, it's stuff that it doesn't seem like we're going to have an issue with Mass Effect. Now, there could be all kinds of other issues that could pop up that could lead to the next Mass Effect taking 6 years and not coming out till almost 2030. But I don't think we should assume those will happen. We should just deal with them if they do. And so even back to when, after N7 Day in 2023, when Grubb made his big statement where I still don't think he's ever really totally clarified if someone at BioWare or a source that he has said 2029, or if, like he did when he initially said this, he was just doing his own math and then kind of doubled down on it later, but whatever. I don't think the math makes sense unless we're assuming the next Mass Effect is going to have the same issues that Dreadwolf has had. And again, it could, but there's a lot of hoping that maybe we won't go through another worldwide pandemic during the development of Mass Effect. There's a hope that they won't be changing the genre or the entire setting or whatever of the game, of whether or not it's going to be a live service or a single player game. I believe they've even already alluded to this being a single player, Mass Effect game, as we would expect. And I think that from my history of paying attention to Grubb and stuff like that, the Jeff Grubb that was at GamesBeat, and that was a kind of typical, or not typical, but a journalist who happened to have a podcast with the Game Mess, is not the same Grubb we have now. The Grubb we have now is on Giant Bomb. He's an entertainer, and I think you're starting to see some of that entertaining aspect come out more. And I think when we came to this 2029 date and how he kind of goaded that on and kind of kept it going for quite a while, you know, there's different intent and there's different outcomes looked for people when they have maybe different focuses in their jobs. But maybe it won't come out till 2029. I have no idea. But I think this part of this article is spot on, talking about how, you know, this is going to be Dreadwolf's year. And then it's still, you know, it's probably still going to be multiple years before we hear a lot about the next Mass Effect game. And then the last part of the article here, where it talks about how N7 Day is the likely next bit of information we'll get. I think that's pretty spot on. I believe that this June date, this June window that we got for Dreadwolf, when we'll get more info about that, my honest guess is that there's going to be an EA Play style event this year. So if you don't know what that is, that's a thing that used to happen as part of E3, RIP, where they would have basically a showcase just for EA games. My guess is that BioWare will obviously, this is where we're going to find out all of the info about Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I'd be willing to bet they'll at least give us a snippet of info about Mass Effect, even if it's just the smallest thing. Throughout this year, there's also a really good possibility of Mike Gamble, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudging at various things, posting various things that get us going. There's also always the chance of leaks and significant rumors and things like that coming out, which I'll cover everything that isn't straight up stolen, things that aren't clearly where people were hurt to attain the information. But still, you know, it's going to be Dreadwolf's year. N7 Day will likely be, you know, probably something like the last couple we had, where 2023 I would actually say was even a little less than 22, but they'll only be further along in their pre-production. If Dreadwolf is coming out this year, I would find it pretty likely that the part of the Mass Effect team that went over to help on Dreadwolf will probably be released back to their original project, if they haven't been already. We saw some information from, I think it was EA Motive, that they worked on Dreadwolf from, I believe it was August of 2022, or like November of 2022 until August or so of 23. And so, you know, a little bit less than a year, and then they're now working on their own project with an Iron Man game. And I would imagine that's the same story with the Mass Effect team. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the people that Mass Effect had to give up to the Dreadwolf team are probably back on Mass Effect at this point. There's also, you know, reason to believe in that pre-production that it doesn't seem like there's just, you know, 4 or 5 people, you know, all of the directors working on the next Mass Effect game. For all intents and purposes, it seems like there is a relatively large team, at least for pre-production, of 25 to 50 people working on it. And it could even be more depending on who's still helping with Dreadwolf or not. So, you know, the prediction that N7 Day is going to be the next pretty much guaranteed info dump or info source is likely. But I do think there's going to be multiple places this year, whether EA likes it or not, where we could end up getting more info. So without trying to drag this video out too much, I just felt like this would be a good place for me to kind of get my thoughts and expectations out. I thought it'd be a good time for you all, anyone who watches this video, to let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, do you think we'll get any info this year? Do you think Dreadwolf's even coming out this year? How do you see that all playing out? I still think that these two IPs are looked at fairly separately by EA and BioWare, and I don't think that Mass Effect has to be completely ignored for Dreadwolf to get its proper due with marketing and stuff like that. So I am more optimistic that we'll get more info than maybe we expect right now. But as I pretty much always encourage people to do, have low expectations and be excited to be surprised by getting more than you thought you were gonna get. So that's my advice, is that we wait these next 3 to 7 years, I guess, for this game to eventually come out, and as I continue to make videos about it and talk about it. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more Mass Effect news and speculation and so on. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of the video, and if you have any of your own opinions on what is going on. I am Bond Diesel all over the internet, including over on Twitch, where you can catch my streams once or twice a week, sometimes more. I also have 2 video game podcasts, the Bonfire podcast and the Mass Effect Hypecast. They're right here on YouTube or over on any of your podcast platforms that you prefer. That's all I have for this one. Until next time.